Hello, chat. I feel very bleh. Which is why I'm not playing a video game. Just gonna just do a thing real quick. Wow. I am a demon. Wow. Did my mic indeed work? Okay. Bleh. I feel like bleh. How is everybody else doing on this Tuesday? I'm feeling pretty meh the past few days, which is why I didn't stream yesterday, and then I still felt meh, so was like, oh, I don't want to do anything, but I should stream, so I'm just gonna stare off into the void. Because and sneeze. Gracias. I had mac and cheese, but it was finished kind of late, and then I was looking into some computery stuff. That's why stream is like an hour late. Man. Brain bleh. So we just not do anything. You do fires. Then we could go raid fires. That would be cool. Blade. Yeah. Fires is cool. They do cool arts, as seen on my boobulas. And they're cool and chill. Very cute individual. Cute OC. Yeah. Bunch of cuties. I can barely see the mole under my lip. Very noticeable. can't see me stick my tongue out. My webcam does not support that. I also should turn my light on. And fix my camera a little. There you go. I am... Maybe I'm getting sick. My mom was sick for a few days. My dad was feeling icky for a few days. My brother's starting to get sick. Maybe I too am getting sick and it's just in my brain. Which sucks because I always have it the worst in my family when people get sick. It always hits me the hardest. Which is annoying. I don't want to be sick. Being sick is awful. Do not recommend. Don't get sick. What's the wrong thing? I wanted to open. The one thing we can do, right as we could talk about what fun goals we can do for the donathon, charity donathon. And what to do during the 8-hour and 12-hour streams. That I owe you guys. I'm sure I will eat ramen and such during that time. I could also play the game that chat voted for, because I still owe that. Because I haven't done that on stream yet. Or at all, but I mean, I have it downloaded or something. Just, you know. But that's long streams. And I should figure out what to do for the long streams. Last time we did it as a birthday thing. And I played Elden Ring. Did we get to Morgott? I know we fought the dragon dude. I think I beat Goldfree. Did we beat Morgott? I feel like we didn't beat Morgott. We didn't get that far. Figure out what to do for that. 'Cause I am the blade today. Like, I have no idea, like, I could if I was good at video games, I could just do some speed run shit or something. But I'm not good at any game just enough to speed run it. Not that 8 hours is a speed run in most things. Speed runs are usually like, I beat Dark Souls 1 in 30 minutes. I like I said, I'm not good enough at anything to do speed running at all. Braz, thank you for the sub. Bleh. Thanks. Welcome to Bleh Hours, in which I don't know what to do. Oh, Braz isn't really new. It's just our first time subbing. They're around. Being silly. Not talking in chat. Yes, new sub feed. How dare you lurk? How dare? It's a joke. Lurkers are cool. So many of the games I play and are like 40 hours long. So they're not something I can just do in one stream. Why is Final Fantasy 13-3 have to be called Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13? It's separate from all the other Final Fantasies in my Steam list because for some reason it starts with an L. And I hate it. I do too. Streaming is partly my excuse to actually play the games that I have. Why do I have 2 copies of Little Nightmares? And why is the enhanced edition less gigabytes? I don't understand. I have Neo. I'm not gonna play Neo. I'm sorry. It looks too stressful. No, and I've got Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition. At least the Definitive Edition's bigger this time. Why is it like that? How long is Pacific Drive? see. I have Slay the Princess. 1/4 of the way there to 100. I wasn't sure if I had Slay the Princess, but I do. I don't know how long that is, though. I feel bleh. So that's why we're not playing a video game. When did I get Undertale? I'm just looking at my Steam library to see what we could do. It's like an 8-hour stream or a 12-hour stream. But I don't know. I am, like I said in my thing on Discord, brain melting. Blah. Blah. But I also was like, well, yeah, it's a good excuse to play video games. You're like, I should play. And because you're streaming it, you're like, well, I gotta finish it. That is not my feelings with Sekiro. Sekiro is that you guys paid me money, and I'm like, well, now I have to play it, and I still haven't finished it. But you know what? Bad Brain, not good for Sekiro. That game already stresses me the fuck out, which is why I don't play it a lot. And why, when I'm feeling bleh, I'm willing to play like Final Fantasy or Dragon Age or whatever, and not Sekiro. Because those don't, I don't have to worry about the stress making me angered. And then wanting to flip a table. I would never flip my desk though. Don't worry. Nier game's good. Get all the endings. Okay, well, you don't have to get all the endings in Automata. You only have to get 5. But you have to get all the endings in Replicant, because those are all canon. Kind of. The dying and the not dying are both canon. Especially now that ending E is in the game instead of written down. It's actually a playable section. Some things, though, still not playable, and that's for the best. We don't need to know about the sexual predators. We don't need that in the main game. That's fine to keep as a short story only. Let's keep that Oh, that stuff's creepy. If you don't know, just look on the Nier wiki. I already kind of explained it when we were doing the story. Like when we were actually playing Replicant. So I'm not explaining it again, because it's dark as fuck. Just keep in mind, Nier is like 15 at the beginning of Replicant, and that short story takes place before the beginning of Replicant. So, yeah. Chat, I have a question. Co-working streams, people usually show what they're working on? Or do they just, like, work the stream open and occasionally talk to chat? Only co-working type streams I'm ever part of are the art streams, which aren't technically co-working streams, but that's kind of the same. Hi, Crispy. Nier can get very dark and depressing. It's a lot of dark themes. Well, I can't do art in chat, you guys. I mean, I could, but you would just be staring at this screen while I draw and do this the whole time. Because I don't have a tablet, a drawing tablet. I mean, I have one on my throne. How much is it? I forget. Throne. I do draw on paper, Crispy, but you guys can't see me draw on paper. $229. Which is why it's on crowdfunding. It's expensive. I can't do hand cam right now. Because my webcam is being used for face tracking. I gotta see about getting my iPad set up to try and do face tracking on it. But the app is not free. It costs like $8. Gatekeepery. Besides, hand cam stream. Crispy, what do you think I'm using right now? Hand cam stream is going to be an incentive for the charity donathon. I got Lego-y stuffs to build. Well, see, I'm not a drawing person. I'm a writey person. But, like, I'm not gonna show you guys what I'm writing, because fuck you and fuck that. I don't need people judging my writing in real time. But if I was to do writing, it would just be like... It would just be clickety-clackety. Also, I'm not gonna show off what I'm writing on stream because I want this stuff to get published, and that means you guys don't get to see it until the book comes out. I can't point at my noggin. Look. Have you guys ever read a first draft? They're shit. Actually, you probably have read a first draft. Some authors, I swear, don't just write the first draft, and then they're like, I'm so cool, I'm not gonna write a second draft. I don't need to write a second draft. Looking at you, E.L. James. Well, the 50 Shades series didn't go through any extra processes. They just took the fan fiction and put it in a book and changed the names. And that's why it's so bad. Because it wasn't actually edited. Yeah, Fires, you've written drafts. You know what that shit's like. And then you're just like, ugh. You look back at your first draft and you go, ugh. This is so bad. But it's okay. First drafts are supposed to be bad. Like, I listen to, like, people review books sometimes on the YouTubes. And it's like, that's not bad at a first draft. They could have really cleaned that up if they'd done future drafts. Stupid Deus Ex Machinas, that's for first drafts. Future drafts are for turning it not into a stupid Deus Ex Machina, or even deciding if it needs to be there at all. Okay, I haven't finished ACOTAR yet, but I'm still gonna complain. Because the main character's gotta do these trials. Putting air quotes. And they don't need to exist. Because the character is stupid. Like, you would think somebody who grew up terrified of fairies would be, like, street smart when it comes to fairy bullshit. But she's not. And, like, there was a whole chapter that was just a straight exposition dump explaining the backstory and the plot to her. And somehow, she can't figure out what she's supposed to do. Even though the exposition dump from the NPC made it very clear that all she had to do was tell her boyfriend that she loved him. But she hadn't figured that out. Expedition dumps are also a first chapter problem. If you took out that exposition dump, the main character would be less stupid. Because then she wouldn't know exactly how to solve the problem. And just be too stupid to add 1 + 1 together. When she knows that 1 + 1 = 2. But she's stupid. And that exposition dump is in there. And I'm just like, 99% of this shouldn't be here. There's stuff that could have been sprinkled more throughout the story, like about the villain and her backstory, without going into details that the characters aren't allowed to go into because fairy magic. But you still could have, like, dropped hints. Also, the other character, why did I call her an NPC? She's not an NPC, it's not a fucking video game. The other character explained the entire plot to Feyre, and And just like, yeah. Yeah, okay. And it's like, that information just went in one ear and out the other. She was literally told by this character that the only way to break this curse is for a human to fall in love with Tamlin. A human who hates fairies to fall in love with Tamlin. She was explicitly told this by this character, and then she goes in and for some reason doesn't just tell him she loves him, even though the chapter directly before she saw him, this character explained how to break the curse to her. And I'm just like, you could have just not had this character explain to her how to break the curse and made the trials a riddle. Also, the villain gave her like an explicit riddle about how to do it, and it's like, okay, she's kind of stupid for not understanding the riddle, but she is illiterate, so she probably doesn't know what some of the words in the riddle mean, and that's valid. But like if the author had just taken out this exposition dump that explained exactly how to solve the problem and just changed up the trials a little bit to be like, here's a riddle, and the riddle leading Feyre to the conclusion that the way to break the curse is to tell him she loves him. And I'm just like, why didn't your editor tell you this? What's the author's name? I don't remember what her name is. Why didn't your editor tell you that this exposition dump was bad? I don't know, I can't say exposition dump. Why didn't your editor tell you that? Literally, it would have solved this complaint. My complaint would cease to be if she just hadn't been explicitly told what she was supposed to do. Like, I don't need main characters to be super geniuses or anything. People are stupid, and people are allowed to be stupid in fiction. But, like, when they're unable to comprehend information at all that is presented to them in a blatant fashion, it annoys me. Because a 2-year-old would hear that story and go, "So I just gotta tell him I love him." A fucking baby could have put that information together. Bitch is not even smarter than your average crow. Crows, 100% already would have solved the problem. If she was turned into a crow, if she was a crow, she would be smarter. Yeah. Like, I'm 100% fine with her being illiterate. It's actually a bit of a subversion of the not like other girls, I love to read instead. I love books so much, which is super common because of Bella Swan and such, and her ilk. No offense, Twilight lovers. It's just she really got everybody in the young adult sphere on the I like to read and am special because I like to read. And Feyre is like, I can't fucking read. I know how to spell 3 words. And she tried to learn a bit more of how to read during the book, and then she got frustrated and gave up, which is valid. Happens to a lot of people. The US literacy rate is at like a 6th grade level, so she's under there, but she was also never actually taught how to read as a child. That's not her fault. That's on her parents for not educating their daughter. You know. But it's like... she's been able to figure out stuff before. She talks to another fairy who talks a little bit in riddles, but not like super hard riddles, and is able to figure out what he's talking about. But when another character comes and just tells her how to solve the curse, basically in all but explicit detail, and she can't figure out to just tell the man that she loves him, it feels stupid and contrived. And yeah, it breaks the suspension of disbelief. Like I said, if you took that part out, and I mean the only trial I've read through so far is that she has to fight a worm. She almost gets eaten by a worm, and now she's dying because the worm's lair is just made of disgusting filth. Like shit and piss and blood and viscera. Just in mud form. And she covered herself in it so that the worm couldn't smell her. And then she ended up getting impaled on a broken bone on her arm. And now she's dying of an infection. Which, I mean, it's the logical conclusion from covering yourself in literal viscera and shit, and then getting stabbed by a bone from a dead person. The stabbing was accidental. She mistimed her jump. Perfectly valid flaw. That's all fine. But now, that trial obviously doesn't really do anything as a riddle. So, if you were to rework that, you'd want to switch that up, because that's not going to help anybody figure out that the answer is love. That's just a giant man-eating worm. Giant man-eating worms are not a metaphor for love. Rawr. Description just makes me think of a sandworm from Dune, but like only big enough to swallow a single person and not a giant ship, you know? Like big whole mouth, razor teeth. I haven't actually seen the new Dune movies. That's fine. I know what a sandworm in Dune looks like. I am drinking a Gatorade. It is a blue one. I like blue. Blue is the best flavor. I used to really like the white Gatorades, but now I can't drink them anymore without feeling nauseous, so that's unfortunately life. But yeah, it's just one of those things that's like, no, I mean a worm. Like the slimy little bitches that get flushed out of the ground when it rains and then die on the sidewalk because they can't get back to the earth before they get killed by the sun. Not the dragon kind of worm. That would be a cooler fight. Probably. Granted, its lair wouldn't be made of filth. And it would probably just, like, set her on fire. But, you know, who knows? You know? Worms are also usually intelligent. So, worm with a Y. You know, that could play into a riddle about learning the power of love. Like, these trials are in there to be this big climactic event near the end of the book, which is fine. But with the exposition dump, the trials don't need to exist. They only exist because Feyre is stupid. But you could still have them if you just took out the exposition dump. Switch them around a little bit. And then you have cool epic trials the main character has to do to prove her love. It doesn't occur to her that just telling a man she loves him is a way to prove her love. You know? I also have a huge... I don't know if it's a nitpick, but it feels like a nitpick, but I don't care. That... Did you know the fairies in ACOTAR can lie? I feel so gypped finding out when I found out, and like it happened in like the middle of the book, and he's like, "Oh no, we can totally lie all we want," and I'm just like, "What? That's so lame." Half the fun of any story featuring the Fae is figuring out how to get the characters to lie without lying. And it's like, why they speaking in riddles if they can just say, no, the sky's green. That's why the Fae speak in riddles, so they can trick you without lying. Like, I felt so gypped. Like, making it so they're weak to ash trees instead of iron is a weird choice, but like, whatever. But like, it's like when vampires don't have to be invited in. It just bothers me to take out this cool, magical, metaphorical weakness that you as an author and your characters have to work around. You're a vampire. You gotta get into this building, but you can't get in because it's somebody's home. And you have to be invited in. So, how do you get your vampire inside? Do you just burn the building down? That's an option. Do you have them do some cool, convoluted thing to get an invite? Sure. But, like, it's so much more interesting, and just taking it out is just like, oh my god. Like, I don't think you always gotta have to stick for every single rule for your fantastical creatures. But the weird, mystical, metaphorical ones are the best ones. The Fae can't lie. Vampires can't enter a home without an invitation. Those are interesting because it's not a physical thing. It's not like You have a stake, you just have to stab them in the heart. You have a piece of silver, you just have to shoot them with the silver bullet, or stab them with an iron sword. It's an actual interesting thing that you as an author can play around with, and it's a good way to subtly show how intelligent your characters are by how they use it and how they get around it. And it's also the point of using mystical creatures. Like, they might as well just be elves instead of fairies. Tamlin's just an elf that can turn into a big dog or whatever. Like, he might as well just be an elf if he can just lie whenever he wants. Like, we already have a name for the race of tall, pretty, pointy-eared people. It's elves. You've got a point, though. But, like, you see what I mean? If you're gonna take away basically everything that makes a fairy, you might as well just make them something else. You can just make shit up. You can call them Gorlocks. I mean, you can't call them Gorlocks because I'm pretty sure that's copyrighted. But you know what I mean? You can just make shit up. Like, if they're not gonna actually be the Fae, then why are you calling them fairies when they might as well just be elves? Besides, elves, there's already 5 billion types of elves. Elves are already partly connected to fairies. Like, it's disappointing when they don't have the thing that makes them interesting. I got stuff I'm writing on that features the Fae, and even the ones that spend a lot of time with humans and hang out with the main character who's a human. And she's like, I fucking hate it when you guys do your weird fairy speak. Just fucking tell me. And even then, they have trouble with it. Because even though they're not trying to lie to her, it's in their nature to be kind of, like, mysterious. But she also has to, like, think about things. Also, what's the point of having to examine a deal with a fairy to find the loopholes and try to fill them yourself if they can just lie? Like, what's the point of fairies if they can just lie? I don't understand the appeal. How did this become so big? It's I'm sorry if you like ACOTAR. I'm sorry, Vic, but it's very mid, and the first chapter is actually kind of poorly written. Most of the rest of the book has been fine, but the first chapter just kept making me go, I even have a plot point in that series that I am working on where the Fae are not acting as, like, super crazy mystical and such as they used to. And you know what the reason is? The Fae, being born from the minds and dreams of humans, are still influenced by humans even as they continue to exist. and works like ACOTAR have changed their very nature, and they find it very unsettling. It's like, I used to be way more evil, I used to eat people, and now I just kind of hang out and look hot. That's not fair. Can at least do something interesting with the idea of fairies who are fairies that aren't acting like fairies. I haven't finished ACOTAR yet, Loaf. It's been a little rough, brain bad and all. But I'm almost at the end, and then I'll do the second one. What's the second one called? Sarah J. Maas, that's a fucking name. Court of Mist and Fury. Why is this book so big? ACOMAF is like twice as big as ACOTAR. Like, ACOTAR's 416 pages. Why are there 68 chapters? This ACOMAF, I'm gonna call it ACOMAF, it's Court of Mist and Fury, is 624 pages. Is there actually gonna be graphic sex? Because I feel misled. I always assumed it was like pretty graphic, but it's not. And then I have A Court of Wings and Ruined. So, ACOWAR. Which is 699 pages. This is only the first 3 books. Why are these so long? I'm currently on chapter 37, which is page 329 of ACOTAR. So I got like 100 more pages. Oh my god, kill me. A little less than 100 pages. Honestly, like, went back to like Feyre's relatives partway through the book. Her sisters and shit. I like her oldest sister. She's a huge bitch. It is also kind of stupid, but like, she has more personality than Feyre. Yeah, Nesta. She's a huge bitch, but I like her more in the like 3 scenes she's in. Lucien, also a better character than Tamlin. I know I'm biased towards sassy people, especially when they're sassy assholes. But he's just better. He's just a lot more likable than Tamlin, in my opinion. Like, he's sassy. He likes knives. I love knives are cool. He's not, like, brooding and mysterious. He's kind of just openly a dick. Apparently, this is our pre-finished impromptu ACOTAR talk stream now. Hi, Boo. I'm disgusted she got fucking Tamlin on this. You know what Tamlin is like? Have you guys heard the Ballad of Tamlin? Like, here's an early section with Lucien. I shall hydrate. And it's actually funny, in which Tamlin is trying to compliment Feyre. This is on page 60. And the best he can do is that she looks better than before she showered and that her hair is clean. And that's fucking hilarious. It's like, I have no idea how to compliment anyone, let alone a human, so the best I can do is... You're clean. Like, it's hilarious how fucking zero chemistry they have. Also, it should be noted, I marked down, I have a bunch of, like, little tabs, denoting things, like, chemistry. Let's see, where's my first pink tab? My first pink tab for romantic chemistry and such, is on page 146. This is a romance novel. And they have been in the same location for like 100 pages at that point. Why is there no chemistry until then? Also, I marked their one sex scene, which is, oh, look at that, 100 pages after the first time they have chemistry. Like, I'm not saying she has, like, great romantic chemistry. Also, I put a bunch of orange flags that are supposed to mostly be, like, when it's funny. But most of them are Lucian related. Because he's one of the only people in here that's actually entertaining. There's a couple others that are Nesta related. But mostly it's just the orange flags have become when Lucian is being the most entertaining character in the book. There's not a ton of them, because obviously he's not a main love interest, so he doesn't get a lot of screen time. Like, yeah, here's one with Nesta, where she's like, fuck fairies, and fuck this place, and I'ma just leave. Bye. Our dad and our sister can just have this mansion. I don't give a fuck. And then Nesta's never seen again. I don't know if that's true, but... yeah. Also, there's a part early on, speaking of Feyre being stupid, remember what I said earlier about... Feyre not being very street smart when it comes to fairies? There's an early scene, fairly early, in which she thinks her dad has come to save her from this fairy lord's castle. And she has grown up her entire life. Oh, I'm getting there. She's grown up her entire life, like, within 2 days' walk walk of the border between the Fey realm and the human realm. And she finds fairies super suspicious. She fucking hates them because, you know, all the stories about them eating people. And she just... There's no indication in the text that she is being put under some kind of Fey spell to be convinced that her father has come to save her. Her father, who refused to get a job to support his 3 children after they lost their home. The best he can do is occasionally whittle figures from wood. Which, I mean, like, okay, that's a skill, but you haven't actually, like, done anything. He doesn't even do anything. This is, of course, like every other fantasy, an extremely misogynistic world. So the fact that his daughters, he has left his youngest daughter, Feyre, to be the caretaker of the entire family. Her and her dad and her 2 older sisters. He doesn't even really argue when Tamlin comes to kidnap her. And on top of all that, he has a bum leg and can barely walk to town. In fact, I think most days he can't even walk to town. How could she possibly think? How could she possibly believe that her father, who has done basically nothing to take care of her family, and who can barely walk, not only took the multi-day journey to the wall, but somehow found her in a Fey Lord's castle to save her. My first thought was, oh, that's some kind of shape-shifting fairy. It's trying to lure her away to eat her. And it's like, there is no real indication that she falls for it because the fairy put some kind of spell on her. Which, if it did, it would be like, oh, well, she got bespelled by a fairy. That's not her fault. She doesn't have anything to protect herself from being bespelled by a fairy. But then, that's not what happens. She's just stupid. And it was deeply upsetting. I was like, oh my fucking god. Why is she so dumb? Like, I know being a parent is hard and having to get a job when you've never had one and you're bad with money, it's a lot to ask. But she was, what, like 9 when they lost her house or something? When they lost their big, rich, fancy mansion? They're originally nobility. And it's like, oh, I guess my 9-year-old will now have to protect the entire family and hunt for food and shit. Also, I gotta say, if I can find it. Oh no, she was 11. I accidentally flipped to the right page. Like, he got beaten out of him by debt collectors, and she was 11, and his leg is permanently crippled. And, like, I guess it took 3 years for the money to run out. And she started hunting when she was 14. And it's like, you have a bunch of children. You're their dad. Their mom is dead. You're living in a shitty cottage. Fucking do something. Encourage your older children to do something. He never does anything to get the other two. Her 2 other sisters. To, like, take care of them. Yet she thinks this man would come save her from a fairy lord's castle. Like, girl, are you shitting me? I've got some sticky notes on pages 2. Like how she kind of just gives up on her whole, like, she's got this obsession with how she has to take care of her family. And keep in mind, she'd been at that castle for like 40 pages before she's just kind of like, oh, well, I guess I don't have to worry about taking care of my family anymore. And it's just like, girl. Oh yeah, and I have a note that I specifically wrote down on the page and on a flag about how stupid it is. Where he is surprised and does not understand how somebody who does not know how to write could learn how to hunt. And I'm just sitting here like guy, literacy rates were practically non-existent until the 19th century. Most peasants and hunters didn't know how to read or write. It's like, it would make sense. It's like, oh, you didn't have a mentor, but you still figured out how to learn to hunt on your own. That's impressive. But it's just like, what does being illiterate have to do with learning how to hunt? Like, she lives right down the road from a village of poor people. Most of them probably can't read either. The ones that can read are probably merchants and shopkeepers. Because for most of the time, like, in Europe at least, not everywhere, some places they actually, you know, valued literacy. But, like, there were literal centuries in Europe in particular, which of course this is based on Europe, which I actually am not complaining about because it does involve the Fae, so it should be based on Celtic like, Europe. It's not really very Celtic, to be fair. But, I mean, at least the Celts are European, so it has that going for it. But, like, there are so many centuries in Europe where literacy was restricted to the rich, the nobles, and the church. If you were in the church, you could probably read and write in Latin. If you were a noble, you could read and write probably multiple languages, at least semi. You'd obviously know your first language of your homeland, but you'd probably, like, the British would know French and probably German, depending on the time period. Definitely French. British and the French. They did a lot of violence to each other and off and on wars, you know. So there'd be, you know, like, you got the few languages, you got your base language of your homeland, and then you got the other one. Actually, in a lot of cases, I think for quite a while, the English nobility actually learned French as their native tongue. And English was seen as lesser because it was the language of the common bitches. Obviously, they didn't say it like that. But, you know, you'd know English, and you'd know French, and you maybe know, like, German or something if you were nobility. And if you were rich, well, you have to learn how to read and write so that you can keep in contact with your wealthy, noble customers. And also, you probably would know how to do math good. But, like, the basic peasants, why would they not need to know how to read? Your average hunters living up in the mountains for 6 months out of the year, hunting deer or what have you. You think they know how to read? They were drinking and killing animals and probably fucking each other while they were up there. They ain't reading no books. So I'm just like, what does her being able to hunt have to fucking do with her illiteracy? That's just dumb. I mean, yeah, I put a nice little sticky note at the end of chapter 10 about, like, Feyre, do you really think your dad, who can barely walk, went past the border and somehow found you in fairyland when even you don't know where you are or how many days it's been since you left? I put a whole ass sticky note there to yell at Feyre about being stupid. Anyways, if you want somebody to critique your writing, I will do so, and probably not be, like, super mean about it. Oh yeah, here's my sticky note about how stupid and boring it is. That the Fae can just lie. Let's see. I've also got, I don't know where it is. I don't remember what chapter that was. A sticky note. About when she very, very first meets Rhys. Rhys is the other love interest. There it is. I do know that. I don't know technically how the series ends. I'm pretty sure she ends up with Rhys, though, because ending up with the dark, edgy murder boy seems to be the thing in this genre. Here's another little excerpt for you of why Lucien is the best character. Yeah, edgy twinks, yeah. Because she went to see this thing called the Suriel that, like, knows things. And Lucien asks, or no, Tamlin asks, okay, so it's one of the rare times when an orange tab isn't about Lucien. It's actually Feyre being funny. And because Tamlin asks what the Suriel told, if the Suriel told her anything important. And he said that you like being brushed, and if I'm a clever girl, I might train you with treats. Which is like, okay, that's fun and silly. You should have some silly, funny teasing between your love interests. It doesn't matter if it's an edgy romance or a super soft romance. Your characters have to be able to tease each other and poke fun and make each other laugh, because otherwise, that's just a terrible pairing. if they have zero chemistry. Oh yeah, and then Lucien's like, oh my god, I might die of surprise. You made a fucking joke. But yeah, here's the sticky note about my complaint with Rhysand. Because I know it's Rhysand. He's not actually named at the time. He's named later. But she's at some party that's like a sex party, but she didn't know it was a sex party. Because for some reason, Tamlin and Lucien don't tell her things, and then Tamlin and Lucien get mad at her for doing a thing that she was told not to do, which, like, if I was hanging out with some fairy lords and they're like, hey, don't go to this party, I'd be like, why? Like, they're not allowed to tell her the details of the curse. That's worn off mostly near the end. That's why the exposition dump happens, because most of that's worn off and she's able to learn about it. But you couldn't just tell her it was a sex party? She's like, why can't I go? And they're like, just don't worry about it. She's like, well, I'm gonna go then. Which, I mean, that is in character for Feyre. Whether or not that's smart is irrelevant. But, like, it's an orgy? And they just weren't like... One of them didn't just pull her aside and go, hey, so... There's gonna be a lot of fairies just having sex everywhere during the night. Thank you for the follow. What a time for a follow, the nerdy panda. That nerdy panda. But yeah, it's just like, okay, so everybody's going to be fucking over every inch of this place. Stay in your room. It is not safe. They might accidentally kill you. But also... Oh, well, that would explain why. You're probably used to the crazies. But, she goes anyways. Again, she probably would not have gone if one of them had been like, hey, so this is what this party's about. She probably would have been like, ew. And just stay in my room all night then. Maybe get some snacks from the kitchen. That doesn't sound fun at all. I mean, that would be my reaction if I was told that the fairies were gonna have a crazy orgy party. I'd be like, ugh, no thank you. I'll just stay in my room and sharpen my knives or something. I don't know. But she gets assaulted by a small group of fairies. Because one, she didn't know it was a sex party, so, you know, there's that. Now, these fairies don't understand that consent can be revoked at any time, which it obviously can be, and they just assume that being at the sex party means you're consenting to sex. Which is not the case. Just because somebody's at an orgy doesn't mean they want to fuck. They might just be the designated driver. But also, you know, they're probably evil in the first place, and they're fairies, so I don't exactly expect them to follow human standards of morality. But then she gets saved from being sexually assaulted by Rhys. Which is one of the most lazy tropes in romance, and I hate it. Couldn't she have just been hanging out and he was like, hey, here's this fancy Fey chocolate, you want some? That's all it would take for a hot twink to seduce me at a party. Fancy chocolate, maybe some fairy booze. Fairy wine sounds great. way better than human wine. Oh no! Accidentally took out attack. Like, what is with romance authors and having their main character be sexually assaulted and or almost raped to be saved by her love interest? It's terrible writing. Or yeah, just Rhys isn't cursed. He could just fucking tell her to fuck with her. He knows why she's there. He's not an idiot. I'm pretty sure he's not a complete idiot, at least. He knows she's human. He knows she's from Tamlin's estate. So he's probably like, ah, this is a human that Tamlin is attempting to woo. Would it not be way better villainy to attempt to woo her away from Tamlin? Now, granted, I'm pretty sure, all things considered, Rhys does want the villain dead too. He doesn't seem to like her very much. Or most people. He's also a murderous psycho, so you know. But would it not be better to attempt to woo her away from Tamlin? Or, if you want her and Tamlin to get together, woo her towards Tamlin by talking about how great Tamlin is? I'm pretty sure she does. I believe it ends with Feyre being made into a fairy. Because of course she was going to be made into a fairy. You named her Feyre. I do know what happens in the book. I just haven't finished reading it and seeing how stupid it is for myself. Other than there's lots of sex, and Vic tells me that they fuck in the sky. That Feyre and Rhys fuck in the sky one time. I don't know what book that's in. It's probably not in this one. There's been exactly one sex scene in here. And it was fucking bland. It's like a paragraph. There's not even that much foreplay. There's like maybe a page of foreplay. And then they fuck in like a paragraph and a half. And that's it. That's the sex scene. We'll have to see if it's a good scene or not when we get there. This is just what Vic tells me, that Feyre and Rhys fuck in the sky. I wouldn't want to do that. The sky is very cold, chat. Do you know, you guys, been on an airplane and you're sitting next to the window and you touch the window and it's cold as fuck? It's because the atmosphere. It's fucking cold in the sky, man. Well, I wouldn't want to fuck in the sky. It just seems like a recipe for disaster. Someone's gonna get hit with your cum falling out of the sky if you're not careful, for one thing. But yeah, like, wouldn't it be awful? You think you got hit by raindrops and then you like wipe it off your forehead and it's cum? Would you not be horrified? Also, it probably hurt. I don't know how far up in the sky they are though, so just saying, it'll probably hurt. But yeah. Like, I think Rhys wants the villain. Her name's Amarantha. She doesn't show up until like chapter 30 or something. But that's fine. The villain doesn't have to be on screen. She's a presence. That's fine. Like, I'm pretty sure he wants her dead too, which is valid. She seems like an asshole. I mean, I know she's an asshole. Yeah, bird poop. Because cum and bird poop have the same consistency. This is why my streams are 18 plus. Oh, I found another complaint. She keeps so she's like going after Tamlin. This is when she's after the exposition dump where she finds out everything that she possibly could have needed to know to understand what's happening in the plot. She's like trying to find Tamlin, but she keeps wanting to run away. She keeps having to stop herself from running away from the scary fairy caverns. And it's just like, is it evil fairy magic that makes you want to run away? Because that could be a thing. I'd be fine with that. But there's no sign that that is the case. Like, maybe it'll be revealed later that Amarantha just radiates this terrifying energy that no human is strong enough to overcome, but because of her love, Feyre will overcome it. But that is not how it's written, and instead, it's just like, oh man, I really should go save my boyfriend from this evil fairy, but also it's really scary in here, and I want to go home. And that's how this scene of her in the caves comes off. Like, this is like 3/4 of the way into a book. It is okay for the protagonist to be a huge bitch coward. But the point of a romance in such context is that their love gives them the strength to power through. Now, Feyre hasn't spent the previous 3/4 of the book being a huge bitch-ass coward who would run away from fairies at the drop of a hat. So her being so scared in these caverns that she wants to run away and leave Tamlin behind is out of character and also bad. She was willing to go with this man so that her family would be spared fairy revenge, as far as she was aware, and possibly murdered. But she's in a dark cave and it's scary, so she's too scared to go after her man. Like, are you fucking kidding me, Feyre? What the fuck is wrong with you? 'Cause if it doesn't turn out to be that Amarantha just radiates evil magic or something, then, like, what the fuck? Bad writing. I found the poem. I found the poem for you all. I marked it in pink because it's about love. There are those who seek a lifetime but never we meet, and those I kiss but who trample me beneath ungrateful feet. At times I seem to favor the clever and the fair, but I bless all those who are brave enough to dare. By large my ministrations are soft-handed and sweet, but scorned I become a difficult beast to defeat. For though each of my strikes lands a powerful blow, when I kill it. I do it slow. Now, again, Feyre is illiterate, so if you tell me that she doesn't know what the word ministrations means, I'll believe that. Honestly, though, the writing of this poem is very simple, and that's not a bad thing. Like, there aren't a lot of big words. It's very simple, and again, not bad. But how do you not guess that it's love? Like, I guess, you know, Feyre just isn't well versed in poetry or riddles, so it's a really simple one, and she's still too dumb to figure it out because she doesn't know how to read. Okay. But, like, she already got told that the answer to curing the curse is love. Why is she stupid? Hate it. Hate how stupid she is. Like, another sticky note. Because they keep bringing up long forgotten and nameless gods. To which I question, if they're long forgotten and nameless, why do you talk about them? It's not some ancient text talking about some gods long forgotten that another character's like, ah, that was a god. I don't know which one, though. Like, if you don't know anything about the Egyptian gods, and you just bring up in your head, oh, I sure wish I remembered the names of those Egyptian gods, I'm gonna just stare at you like, what does that have to do with anything? It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. Why are you talking about something you don't know anything about? For no reason. They bring it up multiple times. It's not other characters. Yes. We're doing a just chatting stream. It's actually a book rant stream. It wasn't supposed to be. The book rant stream was supposed to wait until I finished the book. But I just started going off because the main character pisses me off. The first chapter is honestly not well written. If I wasn't reading this for you guys, I probably wouldn't have finished it. You telling me this bitch is illiterate and is using the word parameters in her fucking her fucking internal monologue? In a romantasy book? This is generic medieval fantasy with fairies in it. Why is this bitch using the word parameters? You wouldn't use that in most fantasies that are well written. Like, also, the unnecessary winter is the hard time of the year. No shit, Feyre. Everyone knows that. Every human that has ever existed is aware that winter is the harder time of year to survive. When is winter not? Parameters is a terrible word to use in this book. Especially with the revelation several chapters later that Feyre is illiterate. How would she, a girl who doesn't even know how to read a children's book, how would she know the word parameters? Go up to a toddler and ask it what parameter means, and they'll be like, Pawamama? The revelation that she's illiterate actually makes the use of the word piss me off more. At least if she was a huge-ass nerd, it would be like, ah, that's why she's using this word here. She's a nerd. She likes to use big words, but no. There's a lot in this first chapter that just made me go, what the fuck? Such as she kills a deer and a bear-sized wolf and skins both of them in a matter of minutes. It is winter. There's snow everywhere. It's cold. Now, I am not an expert when it comes to the skinning of animals. I've never skinned an animal, obviously. It's not... I've never been hunting or anything. But I feel like skinning a deer takes more than a few minutes. And then there's this bear-sized wolf. That should take even longer than a deer, shouldn't it? It just doesn't seem right. Also... Oh no, she doesn't skin the deer, I think. Maybe? Keep in mind, blood's still, you know, a liquid. It's only warm when it first comes out. You leave it in the winter air and it's gonna freeze. And then she wraps it around the deer to carry them both back to the cottage where she and her family lives. And so I ask this. How does that prevent blood from getting everywhere? She wraps it around the wound that killed the doe, so the doe's not bleeding everywhere. The doe's blood. But, like, it's a massive pelt. Blood gets everywhere when you skin things. Because, you know, that's how bodies work. Would there not just be blood everywhere? Also, again, it would be fucking cold. Your hands would freeze. Also, the bear-sized wolf is a fairy. So she skinned a person who just happened to be a bear at the bear wolf at the time. Which is like, surely something weird should happen. Even if it doesn't revert back to its natural form, surely it should be weird. She gives the pelt to a hunter who says, "Ah, that's a big wolf pelt." Not Fae, though. It is Fae, obviously, as I said. Yeah, she skins the deer in their cottage, I think. Let's see. Let's see. Do. I'm pretty sure she's like, not fairy. Yeah, doesn't seem like a fairy. Which makes me question. I guess this lady doesn't know the difference between giant bear wolves and fairies. Okay. And she also acts like she does, so I'm like, what the fuck? And then, like, this guy was a friend of Tamlin and Lucian. The guy who she skinned after killing him. And I would not call this book passionate. What are you talking about? Or sexy, honestly. There's barely anything sexy in this book. Call it action-packed. Well, that's okay. Those are for different books. Like, I don't expect people to get things right all the time. Like, that, that happens. I mean, I went and looked up information about goats and their milking and how that works because a character in a book I'm writing happens to own a few goats, and she is kind of ostracized, so she kind of partly lives off of their milk and cheese. But it's not actually a big part of the book, but I still went and looked it up anyways and looked at fucking goat herder forums about goat breeding and milking. But, like, it's fine that not every author wants to do that. It's a nitpick in that case. Like, at least the skinning something in a few minutes is a nitpick. The not dripping blood everywhere when you've skinned an animal is not a nitpick. That doesn't make any sense. Feyre should have fucking frozen to death trying to do that. But, I was just glancing at the praise for the series. The other two quotes, the second and third quote of the second and third book. For the first quote is passionate, violent, sexy, and daring. I would not call it... I mean, it's kind of violent. It's not super violent. I mean, yeah, that was a fantasy world, too, that I'm working on with the goats. But, like... they're goats. They're normal goats. They're not fantasy magic goats. So I'm like, well, how often do you have to breed a goat to milk a goat? Can you just breed it, like, once? And then it'll just make its own milk for a while? Turns out, yes, depending on the goat. They'll breed and then be able to produce milk for, like, a couple years. Depending on the breed of goat. Well, I now know about goats. Also, there are goats that don't breed but still produce milk, but it's not usually like milk. It's more watery consistency. It's not like the stuff that you use to make cheese. These are things I did not need to know, but now I do. Ugh. I'm sure my knowledge of goat will make the book that much better. I'm sure it will be very important information. But just... I try, personally, when I'm writing, to make at least the main character not annoying. They don't have to be your favorite character. It's best if they're the best character when they're the fucking protagonist, but they don't have to be. But the protagonist shouldn't make you go, God, I wish this other character was the main character. I wish Nesta had gone instead. She'd probably sass the shit out of Lucian and Tamlin, and then her and Lucian would just get into sass matches. And it would be funny. You know? That would be funny. Even if it didn't work and nobody fell in love with anybody, and they just sassed each other and everybody was stuck wearing a masquerade mask. Also, she put Tamlin and his whole court in these, like, Venetian carnival masks. And she did it to Tamlin so he couldn't use his unearthly beauty to seduce any women. Has to be women. Amarantha is homophobic, confirmed, but she's also the villain, so it's allowed that she'd be homophobic. That's why he couldn't just seduce some hot guy. But people in universe think that Batman is hot and they can only see his goddamn chin and mouth. Like, people in universe are like, man, I'd fuck Batman if I'd fuck Batman so good. It's like, you can't see the most of his face. Yeah, but what you can see is hot. And you can see most of Tamlin's face. It is so not covering that Feyre can see that Lucian is missing an eye and has a horrible scar. She can see the horrible scar. So it's like, well, she can't be not seeing that much of Tamlin's face. Because I believe it's that a woman has to kill a fairy with hatred in her heart. And Tamlin has to make that woman fall in love with him. And then the character who's explaining this to Feyre says that all the people who had killed all of Tamlin's friends, keep in mind that the one that Feyre killed, he let her kill him. He knew she was going to shoot him, and he was like, okay. And then he just stared at her while she shot him in the eye. She shot him twice. Took 2 arrows, one of which was made of ash, which is their weakness for some reason. Like, they got killed by others. Like, human hunters and older women. Why couldn't Tamlin have made a gilf fall in love with him, or a MILF? Why does it have to be a 19-year-old? Why couldn't it be some middle-aged baddie who was like, I fucking hate fairies? Urgh. Why couldn't it have been a gilf? I was gonna say he's got charm, but he doesn't. But you know, like, why does it have to be a fucking 19-year-old? He's like 500 years old. Match him up with a gilf instead of a child. You know? Why is this season? Why does it only work if it's a young woman. I will accept that Amarantha is homophobic, and that's why it couldn't have been a human man. Which, I mean, it's a bunch of bullshit. But also, Feyre wasn't even entirely sure that the giant wolf was a fairy. She didn't actually kill him with hatred for fairies in her heart. She killed him with, God, my family is starving to death and I am going to freeze to death out here. I need it to die and not steal this deer. If I don't kill it, I need money and food for my family. That's what she was thinking. We were in her head. It's first person. We know that she wasn't thinking about how it's probably a fairy and how much she hates fairies and she would rather kill a fairy and starve to death. She was just like, ugh. But if I skin it, I'll be able to buy some new clothes. Then my feet won't be freezing. Might be able to afford some grains for food. Like, that's what was going through her head when she killed that giant wolf. So I'm just like, Feyre doesn't even fit the bill. She was just thinking about how fucking hungry and cold she was. It's like, may or may not be a fairy. I am hungry, and my toesies are cold. I'm about to get frostbite if I don't do this now. You know? Should have been a gilf. That's all I'm saying. This book would be better. There would be better sex if it was a gilf. Should have been like a 70-year-old woman. Old people know how to fuck. They've been doing it for decades. Granted, obviously, the problem with that is that there's no way Tamlin, with his personality-less ass, could have bagged a gilf. Gilfs look for personality and not just hot chins. And Tamlin doesn't have much of one. Lucian might be able to bag a granny. Not Tamlin, though. Tamlin just doesn't have any charm. He's weak. No wonder Amarantha had to hide his face. No wonder he spent like 50 years trying and failing to bag a baddie. Dude's got the personality of a rock. I can tell you 3 things about Tamlin. His family were assholes, though they're all dead now. He can turn into a big animal. Not entirely sure. I don't remember if it's a dog or like a wolf or a lion. Let's see. Yeah. Feline, somewhat feline body and wolfish head. Big dog. They turned into a big dog, and it's, you know, it's golden and such, because he's blonde. And he likes roses. I don't know what he does in his spare time. I mean, I'll give it to Rhys. He's not been in that many scenes so far. He's got a lot more personality than Tamlin. He likes booze. He likes fucking with people. He's psychotic and murderous. He's willing to fuck with people super hard. For shits and giggles. Not even because it gets him anything. He just likes to fuck with people. Like, That's the real reason that they're gonna end up... She's gonna end up with Reese, because Reese actually has more personality. It's not a good personality, but at least he has one. Yeah. Haven't quite finished. I'm on chapter 37. I think I got like 10 chapters left or something. Yeah. Last chapter's 46. So that'll... Maybe I should read more than one chapter. I hadn't actually read for a while. I was just like... I was pretty done with Feyre, honestly. She's just annoying to me. Let's see. It stopped at chapter 35 for a while. There's just some poor grammatical mistakes on occasion, which, I mean, that slips through editing sometimes, but... I was just really not in the mood to read about how stupid Feyre is. Like, here's the way out. This is Feyre when she's told exactly how to solve all of her problems. How do? She's just big annoyed. Like, you should try to make your main character the best character, but even when they're not, they should not be they should not be a character that makes everyone go, "Oh yeah, Feyre's really, they're really annoying." But this other character's great. Okay, but then why do I want to read a book from the point of view of a fucking idiot who just continually pisses me off and annoys me? I would rather read a book about somebody who doesn't continuously piss me off, but maybe deals with people who continuously piss me off, and then they stab them and they die. That shouldn't be the main character, though. That's... 'tis unwise for that to be your main character. Don't do that, chat. If you're writing a book, talk to people who normally read that genre and be like, hey, what do you think of this character? And if they're like, oh my god, the main character makes me want to die, then just fix that. This doesn't only go for books. Like, it goes for movies, games, comics, all kinds of things. Okay, but love, you said, yeah, that'd be crazy when I talked about Nesta and Lucian hooking up. And if they are going to hook up, that would be the best thing that the author could possibly do, because they would be great together. Because they're the two best characters in the book. If one of the best characters in the book is the main character's annoying older sister, and the other best character isn't the main character, then you fucked up. You don't... You've done fucked up if that is the case. Because Nesta is clearly not supposed to be likable. And then, like, Feyre and her bond a little. And it's like, oh, maybe my sister isn't so bad, but Nesta's just sitting there being a way more entertaining character. And she's in even less of the book than Lucian. Feyre's like, oh, maybe my oldest sister isn't a stupid bitch. And it's like, no, you're the stupid bitch. She is just a bitch. Okay, Nesta's a little stupid, but I'm fine with characters being a little stupid. Like, again, Feyre being illiterate and that causing plot problems is in fact a good thing. Feyre can't read, this caused problems, so Feyre not understand how to do thing. That's not Feyre being stupid. That's Feyre being a flawed individual who has to overcome her flaws or work past her flaws in order to do plot stuff. I mean, Nesta's dumb for spending all of their money in an effort to get their dad to get a job, because it just makes me go, okay, bitch, but you could have got a job. But, like... she still doesn't annoy me as much as Feyre. I think that is enough yap for now, chat. I don't want to keep yapping. I'm gonna, like, write down some of my notes and attempt to order them chronologically for the proper book yap stream. And then if I find out that, like, Amarantha's evil magic is causing terror that makes you want to run away, then I will retract my criticism of Feyre being a coward there. But if not, I will talk about it again. I will try to finish the book before the end of the month. And then we will talk about it. I don't know if it'll depend when what day I finish it and how long it'll take to transcribe and actually write notes for like when we actually talk about it. Probably the end of January or the beginning of February, like I said, depending on how long it takes to, like, transcribe my notes. Raids, buh. There you go. There's all my things. I may try to play a game tomorrow. We gotta finish Sekiro. There's a new story chapter out in Honkai Impact 3rd. And we still got Dragon Age to do. So if I can make my brain work. The yapping actually made me feel better. Ranting about this book made me feel less bleh. So that's nice. If I can get my brain together, we'll see about doing one of those things tomorrow, maybe? I'll figure that out. We'll see. Have a good night, everyone. Well, we'll do a proper talk about it after I finish it. Have a good night. Have a good week. I'll see you tomorrow, probably. By the way, Stola is fucking loud, so you may want to turn your volume down before we get in there. Just a warning, it's the only one you're ever gonna get. Bye!